I thought maybe love just wasn't meant for me anymore. At 38, after 3 men told me I was too old, I nearly gave up. But then came Walter, a quiet widower from Texas who didn't see my age, he saw my soul. Just when my heart began to heal, his daughter stepped in, with one goal, to send me packing. Brenda sat on the edge of her bed in her small Chicago apartment, holding a letter in her hand. It was the 3rd one this year. Another man who said she seemed too old to start a new family. At 38, Brenda had no children, no husband, and was starting to believe the world had forgotten women like her. The rejection stung deeper each time. She had signed up for a mail-order bride service 2 years ago, hoping for a fresh start and maybe even love. The idea seemed strange at first, but she believed she still had a lot to offer. She could cook, clean, run a home, and hold deep conversations. But none of that seemed to matter when all the men wanted someone younger. Tears welled in her eyes as she stared at her mirror. "Am I really too old?" she whispered to her reflection. Her long brown hair was neatly tied back, her face still beautiful with soft features, but a sadness had settled into her smile. She didn't feel old inside, just tired of being unseen. That night, as she scrolled through her inbox one last time, she noticed a short message from a man named Walter in Texas. He was 45 and said he was looking for a partner, not a doll. His words felt different. Real. Brenda didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change. Walter lived on the edge of a small town in Texas with wide fields and quiet skies. He was a widower with a strong build, soft voice, and tired eyes. Since losing his wife 4 years ago, he had raised his daughter alone. Now, at 45, he longed for company, not just someone to fill space, but someone who could understand life. His daughter, Emily, was 21 and still lived with him. She missed her mother deeply and wasn't ready to see her dad with anyone else. But Walter knew he couldn't spend the rest of his life in silence. So, after months of thinking, he finally wrote a message to Brenda. "Dear Brenda, I don't care much about age. I care if a woman has a kind heart and a steady soul. I've read your profile. You seem like someone who knows life, and I'd like to get to know you better, if you're still willing." Brenda read the letter again and again. Something in Walter's words felt warm, like a hand reaching out in a storm. She wrote back the next day, and from there, letters began to fly between Texas and Chicago. As the weeks passed, they opened up about everything: Brenda's past heartbreaks, Walter's lonely nights, and the dreams they still carried. Both had wounds. But they also had hope. Still, Brenda had no idea the biggest challenge wasn't winning Walter's heart, it was winning his daughter's trust. Brenda's phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. Her heart raced as she answered, "Hello? Hi, is this Brenda?" a deep, gentle voice asked. "It's Walter." Her breath caught. For weeks, they'd only written letters and emails. Hearing his voice made it all feel real. Walter laughed softly. "Sorry if I surprised you. I felt like I had to hear your voice today." Brenda smiled. His voice sounded like calm after rain, slow, warm, and honest. They spoke for an hour about everything: food, music, their favorite childhood memories, and even the funny quirks of country versus city life. Walter chuckled when Brenda said she'd never ridden a horse. By the time they ended the call, Brenda felt a spark she hadn't felt in years. Not a crush, but a quiet, steady flame. Something safe. Something good. But Walter, after hanging up, stared at a photo on his wall, his late wife and their daughter, Emily, laughing under a tree. His heart ached. Could he love again? And what would Emily think? Emily was sipping coffee when she noticed her dad smiling at his phone. "You've been in a good mood lately," she said, raising an eyebrow. Walter looked up. "I've been talking to someone. Her name's Brenda." Emily froze. "Someone, like, a woman?" Walter nodded. "Yes. A kind woman from Chicago." I think you'd like her. But Emily didn't smile. Her stomach tightened. The memory of her mother's voice, her hugs, her smell, it all came rushing back. She had spent years watching her dad suffer in silence. But bringing in someone new felt like a betrayal. I don't want a new mom, Emily said quietly. Walter reached out. She's not here to replace anyone. Just to be part of our lives, if we let her. Emily stood up, grabbed her keys, and walked out the door. She didn't want to hear more. Back in Chicago, Brenda had no idea a storm was already building, one that could shatter the second chance she had waited her whole life for. A few days later, Brenda opened her inbox and found a message from Walter. Would you be willing to come visit us in Texas? I want to see you. I want you to see where I live. You don't have to say yes. But I hope you will. Brenda's hands trembled. A visit? That felt big. But so much of her heart had already traveled there in her letters. Could she really say no? She wrote back. Yes, I'll come. The next week, she packed her modest suitcase. A few dresses, some flats, a journal. She kept glancing in the mirror, checking her face, her figure. She worried, what if I disappoint him in person? At the airport, Brenda felt nervous. But when Walter appeared holding a little sign with her name and a shy smile, her worries melted. He looked just like his pictures, tall, with a soft, weathered face and eyes that had known pain. He opened the car door for her, and as they drove through the quiet country roads, Brenda felt like she had stepped into a different world. When they pulled into Walter's home, a cozy two-bedroom farmhouse with a white porch and rose bushes out front, Brenda smiled. This is beautiful, she whispered. Walter helped her with her bag, just as the front door opened. Emily stood there with arms crossed, her face unreadable. This must be Brenda, she said flatly. Brenda stepped forward and held out her hand. It's nice to meet you, Emily. Emily didn't take it. Dinner's in the oven. I already ate. She turned and walked back inside. Brenda stood frozen. Her hand slowly dropped. Walter touched her shoulder. I'm sorry. She's not ready yet. Brenda nodded. I understand. But her heart sank. That night, as Brenda unpacked in the guest room, she heard Emily and Walter talking in the kitchen. She's not Mom, Emily said sharply. No one is. But that doesn't mean we can't move forward, Walter replied. Brenda lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She had hoped for love, but she hadn't expected to feel so unwanted. The next morning, Brenda woke early and tiptoed into the kitchen. She decided to make breakfast as a small thank you, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, and coffee. The smell filled the house. Walter came in first, smiling. Smells amazing. You didn't have to. I wanted to, Brenda replied, handing him a warm plate. Then Emily entered, rubbing her eyes. She stopped at the doorway when she saw Brenda at the stove. Her face hardened. Brenda smiled gently. Good morning, Emily. I made breakfast. I hope you're hungry. Emily sat down without a word. She barely touched her food. The silence at the table felt thick. Walter tried to make small talk about the weather and the cows on the neighbor's farm, but nothing could melt the wall Emily had built. After a few bites, Emily stood up. I'm going for a drive. She grabbed her keys and walked out without another glance. Brenda swallowed hard. I don't think she wants me here. Walter reached for her hand across the table. Give her time. I know she'll see what I see in you. Brenda nodded, but the pit in her stomach grew deeper. How do you win over someone who's already decided to hate you? Later that day, while Walter fixed a loose fence post outside, Brenda wandered the small house. She paused at the family bookshelf and saw a photo album. Inside were pictures of Walter's late wife, Lily, and a young Emily. Brenda smiled softly at a photo of them baking together, flour on their cheeks, laughter in their eyes. She closed the book with care. Then she saw a box marked Lily's things on the top shelf. She wasn't trying to snoop, but her hand brushed a small envelope sticking out. It was addressed to Emily, "Open when you're ready." Brenda hesitated, then set the letter gently back. She didn't open it. That night, Brenda asked Walter about Lily. He looked surprised, then nodded slowly. Lily was gentle, kind, a school teacher. She passed from cancer when Emily was 17. "I can't take her place," Brenda whispered. "I'm not asking you to," Walter said. "I just want to build something new, with honesty, care, and patience." Just then, Emily came through the door and saw them sitting close, talking quietly. Her heart burned with jealousy and confusion. Without a word, she walked past them, but her eyes landed on the old box in the hallway. And the unopened letter inside. The next day, Brenda decided to give Emily space but still show kindness. She baked a fresh apple pie using an old family recipe and left it on the kitchen counter with a note. "Hi Emily, I know I'm not your mom. I'm not here to replace her. Just hoping we can one day be friends. Brenda." Emily saw the pie but ignored it at first. Later that night, while everyone was asleep, she cut herself a slice. She hated to admit it, it was really good. The next morning, Brenda didn't mention it. She just smiled at Emily when they crossed paths in the hallway. And for the first time, Emily didn't scowl. She simply nodded. It wasn't much. But it was something. Walter noticed too. "Thank you for trying," he whispered as he passed Brenda in the hallway. She gave a small smile but didn't reply. She was still unsure if her heart could handle getting close to a family that might never accept her. A few days later, Walter took Brenda into town. They visited the farmer's market, the local diner, and a small bookshop. People stared. Some smiled politely. Others whispered, "Is that Walter's mail-order bride? Isn't she a bit old? Didn't he lose his wife a few years ago?" Brenda tried to hold her head high, but inside, she felt small. The Texas sun suddenly felt too hot, the streets too quiet. At the diner, the waitress said, "Welcome, Brenda. We've heard about you." Her tone was friendly, but something in her eyes felt like a test. Walter noticed. As they walked back to the car, he turned to her. "You okay?" Brenda sighed. "I knew moving here wouldn't be easy. I just didn't expect so many eyes." Walter took her hand. "They'll get used to us. What matters is what we know to be true." Brenda nodded. But when they drove home, she saw Emily on the porch, watching. And she wasn't smiling. In the shadows of this small town, Brenda realized, it wasn't just Emily's heart she had to win. It was the whole town's. The next morning, Emily found Walter in the barn brushing one of the horses. She stepped in, arms folded. "You're serious about her, aren't you?" she asked. Walter stopped and looked at her. "Yes. Brenda makes me feel alive again. She's strong, kind, and she listens. I don't expect you to love her, but I do expect respect." Emily's eyes welled up. "You promised we'd stay a family. Now it feels like I'm being replaced." Walter walked over gently. "You'll always be my daughter. That won't change. But I've spent too many nights alone. Brenda isn't taking your place. She's adding to our lives, if we let her." Emily didn't answer. She turned and walked away, her chest tight. She didn't want to cry in front of him. That evening, the tension boiled over. At dinner, Brenda tried to make conversation. "Emily, I was thinking about volunteering at the library. Maybe we could." "I don't need a fake best friend," Emily snapped. "Stop trying so hard. You're not part of this family." Silence fell over the room. Brenda stood, trying to stay calm. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm just trying to belong. Emily stormed off. Walter called after her, but she slammed the door to her room. Brenda sat back down, her hands shaking. I don't think I can stay if she hates me this much. Walter looked torn, but he took her hand. Please, don't give up yet. Emily stayed in her room most of the next day. But her heart was heavy. That night, she opened the old box Brenda had found earlier. Inside was the letter, her mom's handwriting still neat and soft. She slowly opened it and read. Dear Emily. If you're reading this, it means your heart is hurting. I want you to know something. Love is not about replacing, it's about expanding. If your dad ever finds love again, let him. He deserves to smile again. And you, my sweet girl, deserve a life full of people who care even if they come after me. Love. Mom. Tears rolled down Emily's cheeks. She read the letter 3 times. Her mother had given her permission to move on, even when she didn't think she needed it. For the first time, Emily realized that maybe, just maybe, Brenda wasn't the enemy. Down the hallway, Brenda sat quietly in the guest room, unaware that Emily had just read the one thing that might change everything. The next morning, Brenda stepped out onto the porch, cradling a cup of coffee. The Texas sky was soft with clouds, the breeze light. She heard the front door open behind her and turned to see Emily. For a moment, they both stood silently. Then, Emily spoke. I read the letter. From my mom. Her voice was quiet. Brenda's eyes widened. I didn't read it, I saw it but I didn't touch. It's okay, Emily interrupted. I'm glad you didn't. But I did. And it helped. Brenda said nothing, waiting. Emily looked down. I've been angry. Not at you. At the idea that anything could change what we were before Mom died. But maybe, change isn't the enemy. Brenda stepped forward carefully. I'm not here to erase her. I could never do that. But I do care about you and your dad. I just didn't know how to show it without making you feel pushed aside. Emily finally looked up. Maybe we can start over. Just, slowly. Brenda smiled softly. Slow is perfect. It wasn't a full hug. Not yet. But when they walked back into the house together, Walter's heart lit up like sunshine. For the first time, there was hope for peace. News traveled fast in a small town, and not everyone was happy. At the local feed store, a group of older men whispered about Walter. He really brought a woman here from the internet? Doesn't feel right. She's too old to be starting fresh. At the diner, the women at the counter were worse. She's just here for his land, one muttered. I heard she couldn't get a man in her own city, another added. Walter heard the gossip. He tried to ignore it. But one day, a man named Hank confronted him at the hardware store. You really think this woman cares about you? Or is she just here for comfort and a roof over her head? Walter clenched his jaw. Brenda is more honest than most folks in this town. And what we have? It's real. I won't let your small talk ruin it. He stormed out, furious. But when he got home, he didn't tell Brenda. He didn't want to worry her. That evening, Emily heard the gossip too. For the first time, she found herself defending Brenda. She's not perfect, but she's kind. And she's not here for anything except a chance. The words surprised even her. But not everyone would be so easy to convince, and the battle for Brenda's place in their lives was only just beginning. Later that week, the town held its monthly community meeting at the church hall. Walter usually didn't go, but this time, he brought Brenda and Emily along. Brenda wore a simple blue dress, her hair tied back neatly. She felt nervous walking in, especially as conversations hushed when people saw her. Emily walked close beside her, silent but present. As the meeting ended, a woman named Mrs. Ruth came up to them. She was one of the oldest women in town, respected by many. She gave Brenda a long look. "You're the one from Chicago?" Brenda nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Ruth studied her, then said slowly, "You baked that apple pie last Sunday?" Brenda blinked. "Yes. I did. It was the best I've had in 10 years. Welcome to town." She walked away, leaving Brenda and Walter speechless. Some people smiled at Brenda after that. Not all. But enough. Later, in the truck, Brenda whispered to Walter, "That was unexpected." He smiled. "It's a start. This town doesn't change fast. But sometimes it only takes one pie." Emily chuckled in the back seat. Brenda looked at her in the mirror and saw something new in her face: comfort. Acceptance, maybe. Hope. That night, Brenda sat at the kitchen table, journaling like she did every evening. But tonight, she started a new letter. One she didn't plan to send just yet. "Dear Emily, I want you to know how much it means to me that you've opened your heart, even a little. I know I came into your life like a storm, uninvited, unexpected. I never wanted to cause pain. I only wanted a place where I could love and be loved." She wrote late into the night, pouring her thoughts onto the page. It wasn't just for Emily. It was for herself too. A reminder that she wasn't a mistake. That her age didn't make her less worthy of love. The next day, she sealed the letter and tucked it into Emily's favorite book on the shelf. She didn't say a word about it. Meanwhile, Walter walked into the room and hugged Brenda from behind. "You've changed this house," he whispered. It was full of silence before. Now there's laughter, smells from the kitchen, and light in Emily's eyes again. "That's all because of you." Brenda leaned into him, her heart full. But she knew one thing for sure: this wasn't the end of their journey. Something deeper was coming. A test that would shake all the peace they had just begun to build. Just as things were finally getting better, a knock came at the door one afternoon. Brenda was in the kitchen cooking dinner while Emily helped with setting the table. Walter answered the door. A stranger stood on the porch. A tall man in his early 40s with sharp eyes and a wrinkled suit. "I'm looking for Brenda," he said. Walter called for her. Brenda came to the door and froze when she saw him. "Rick," she whispered. Rick was her ex-fiancé. The man who once promised to marry her, then dumped her because he wanted someone younger. Brenda's hands trembled. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Rick smirked. "Heard through some friends you moved down south. I was in town for work. Thought I'd stop by, see how life turned out for you." Walter stepped forward. "She's with me now. You should leave." But Rick didn't move. "You're not seriously with this guy on some farm? Brenda, you deserve better." Emily stepped out then. "She already has better. Go." Rick laughed bitterly. "Didn't know you needed a bodyguard, Brenda." Then he turned and walked off down the path. The moment the door shut, Brenda broke into tears. Walter held her close. "You don't have to let him back into your mind," he said softly. But Rick had already done the damage. Old wounds reopened, and Brenda wondered if she truly belonged in a place that felt so new, so fragile. That night, Brenda sat on the porch, knees pulled to her chest. Walter came out with a blanket and sat beside her. "I'm sorry he showed up," he said gently. Brenda nodded. "It just reminded me of how small I used to feel. Rick made me believe that love had an expiration date." Walter touched her hand. "You're not small. You're the strongest woman I've ever met." Brenda smiled weakly. "You make me want to believe that again." Emily joined them a few minutes later. She didn't say anything, just sat on Brenda's other side and quietly handed her a cup of tea. Brenda looked from Walter to Emily and felt something shift. This was family. Not perfect, not blood, but real. Later that night, Brenda walked into Emily's room and whispered, "Thank you." Emily shrugged. "He was a jerk." "No," Brenda said, her voice cracking. "Thank you for standing up for me. You didn't have to. But you did." Emily looked away, a little embarrassed. "Don't get used to it," she said playfully. But deep down, both of them knew, this was more than tolerance now. It was care. It was the beginning of something like love. Still, just as the storm seemed to pass, a letter arrived in the mail the next day that would put everything they'd built to the test. The morning sun poured through the kitchen window as Brenda sipped her coffee. Walter brought in the mail and handed her an envelope. "It's from immigration," he said. Brenda's heart dropped. She opened the letter slowly. Her visa, granted on the condition of a temporary stay, was due for review. If not updated or renewed soon, she could be asked to leave the country. Her hands trembled as she read the bold letters. Failure to submit further documentation may result in removal proceedings. Walter looked over her shoulder and frowned. "We'll get a lawyer. We'll fix this." Emily walked in, and Brenda looked up, trying to stay calm. "They might send me back," she said softly. Emily's eyes widened. "No. They can't." Brenda smiled sadly. "I don't know what will happen. But if I go, I want you both to know, I've never felt more at home than I do right here." Emily sat beside her. "We're not letting them take you. You're not just some visitor. You're family now." Walter nodded. "We've come too far to lose you." But deep inside, Brenda wondered, would their love survive a fight this big? The next few days were full of paperwork, stress, and lawyer calls. But Brenda stayed steady. She cooked dinner, helped Emily with errands, and still laughed with Walter like everything was normal. One night, while looking through a folder, Emily asked, "How do you stay so calm?" Brenda smiled. "Because I've been through storms. And I learned a long time ago, panicking doesn't make the sun come back. Only patience does." Emily looked at her differently in that moment. Not as an intruder, not even as a stepmother, but as a woman she respected. Later that night, Walter and Brenda sat under the stars. "I know I wasn't the youngest or the easiest choice," Brenda said. Walter looked at her, eyes full of emotion. "You weren't the easiest choice. You were the right one." They held hands in silence, hearts full but uncertain about tomorrow. Back in the house, Emily pinned a photo of the three of them, taken during Brenda's first week in town, on the fridge. Below it, she scribbled on a sticky note, "Chosen family is still family." As the screen fades to black, the words appear. To be continued. Broken heart, will Brenda stay or be forced to leave? Family woman girl, will Emily fight to keep her in their lives? Red heart, and can love survive when laws stand in the way? Part 2 coming soon.